Hey Nick, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Can't complain at all.
Excellent, man. We've had some great games in the playoffs this year. Again, some monster entertainment over the weekend. Two overtime games, one pretty convincing win, and one blowout win. We've been kind of blessed with the football we've got from the NFL playoffs the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, most definitely, man. Very, very interesting games. The I feel like my most exciting game, probably was the Bears and the Rams, simply because it was a game that I didn't really expect, to go into overtime. But the way that it ended, the clutch factor with Matthew Stafford, it was amazing football that was played.
What a play at the end by Caleb Williams to tie it to get the touchdown to tie. It was what a 14-yard touchdown pass that goes in the books as, but he threw that about 50 yards. Incredible play.
Yes, his arm talent is amazing. I was fortunate to play against him my last collegiate game in the Cotton Bowl. And I just was amazed about his poise, his ability to scramble and make plays down the field, his arm strength to just put a ball on a rope from 60 yards all over the field. I feel like he's a quarterback that can make truly every throw, regardless of his body being off point, off target, him being hit, him evading the tackle. He's a truly talented quarterback, and that
He
was one of his throws that he's been making since he's been in high school.
he made that great play to tie it, but then in overtime he throws the INT that turns it around the other way. Tough finish for him.
Yeah, most definitely. I feel like even on the INT throw, it was a throw to where I feel like the receiver, if you go back and look at that clip, didn't really cut his yards to get up under the safety. It was an over route that he was running from the field. I assume that the defense was in probably a cover three, which conceptually that route is supposed to work because you have an underneath defender and a high safety. But the way that he threw the ball, he assumed that the receiver will undercut the safety. The receiver didn't really run the route at the yardage that he probably was supposed to, which led to an interception, which was very unfortunate. But he was having a great game and really put the team on his back the last drive to force the tie to get the overtime. And, it sucks to see them come up short, but yeah,
Bears got the quarterback though. After a few years of searching, they found their guy finally.
for sure.
All right. One thing I want to ask you too. I think it was probably the most common question asked, especially after the game on Saturday. Was it a catch?
I got to go with interception. Simply because Brandon Cooks, he caught the ball initially, but as he's going to the ground, there's four hands on the football and he doesn't come up with it. So I got to say that it was an interception. I feel like that is really crazy, and I definitely feel like it depends on the referees that's calling the game and the way that they see it. Because I distinctively remember being in a similar situation last year during the preseason game where I broke on the ball and the receiver went to the ground, didn't have full control. I came up with it and they ruled it a catch. So I just feel like it depends on the way that the refs are seeing it during the game because Devontae Adams had a play in the Bears game that could have been a forced fumble given different referees. So it just depends. It really just depends on who's officiating the game.
Sure was a hot topic though, wasn't it?
It was. It definitely
Yeah.
was.
All right. Let's move ahead a little bit and talk about what's going to happen tomorrow. AFC Championship game, NFC Championship game. Let's start with the AFC. That's the first game tomorrow. New England at Denver. Both these teams 14-3 records during the regular season, but man, there's a big asterisk on this game now because of the injury to Bo Nix, which happened late in the game last week. Broken ankle. He's had surgery. He's done for the year, and Jarrett Stidham is the man now for Denver. That absolutely changes this game, doesn't it?
It definitely does, but looking at that game last week, I feel like Buffalo had their due diligence when it came to Bo Nix and his abilities and the things that he can do, being able to be a mobile quarterback, picking up first downs, being able to have elite ball placement. One of the receivers actually dropped a touchdown, one of the passes that should have been another touchdown that he threw. He played unbelievable, and he's been a key piece in getting Denver as far as they have. But I would love to say that defense wins championships, man, and that defense is playing on fire. So I know that with the reality of Denver having everybody defensively, I don't think it would be an easy matchup for the Patriots. But after seeing the Patriots completely dismantle the Texans and have a pretty good performance by Drake May and everybody playing good collective football, I'm gonna have to take New England in this one.
All right. I'm taking New England as well, but man, May's got to hang on to the football. He had four fumbles in that game last week. You're not going to get away with that 2 weeks in a row, I don't think.
I definitely agree, and it's one of those things. This is his first playoffs. The defense is really carrying that football team. I want to say special teams as well is doing a great job for the Patriots, but I feel like it's going to be one of those things where they don't really give him an opportunity to mess it up come championship Sunday. But I feel like the Patriots defense is firing on all cylinders, and they'll be able to get it done. I don't expect it to be a high-scoring game at all, but I feel like it's going to come down to the more dominant defensive matchup. And I feel like as long as the Patriots can do a great job of not allowing Drake May to be in compromising situations, then their defense will stand tall and get the victory.
Tell me a little bit about practice this week for Denver. How different will it be with the guy coming in to learn the offense? Well, not learn the offense, but be a part of the offense. I mean, he had one snap this year, and it was a kneel down. He hasn't thrown a pass in the NFL for over 2 years. How do you get him ready to play on Sunday?
You get RJ Harvey ready. You know, that's the rookie running back who has had a phenomenal season. I was also blessed to play against him during my time at Tulane. And you just get Cortland Sutton, all the other receivers, all the other pieces ready. So that way the quarterback doesn't have to go in and be a hero. He can go in, operate the game, manage the game, hand the ball off, take check downs, take smart throws, and allow your defense to pin their ears back and do what they have to do. So I feel like that would be the practice regimen for Sean Payton is just making sure that you keep the game complementary and making sure that you keep the fundamentals, which is running the football, man. And that was one of the reasons why our team won the national championship last night, just going back to the basics of being able to line up and run the football.
hmm I guess you're going to have to obviously change the game plan a little bit, and run the ball more, make sure he's protected more, and just give him as much time as you can to do what he has to do.
Right, for sure, man. Especially just coming to a situation like that, a situation where you haven't played in a long time and you're playing for the ultimate prize, which is to go punch your ticket to the Super Bowl. You don't want to have him in his head and dealing with a lot of things of pressure, of, trying to be the guy, going from a guy that has had no reps to a guy that will be receiving all the reps is a pretty hefty task. So I feel like the best thing is just keeping it simple and not having him do too much.
The Broncos, because you use an experienced quarterback. It's funny they're paying $32 million in dead cap space to Russell Wilson this year. I don't know if he'd be any better instead of or not, but it's kind of weird how it works out. It's going to be interesting to watch how it plays out. But we're both taking New England over Denver on the road as well to head to the Super Bowl for the Patriots. All right, the NFC Championship game has the LA Rams at Seattle. Um, this is going to be, I think this is offense versus defense to a certain extent, is it not? With the great Rams offense against the Seahawks defense.
I definitely agree, but I also think that the Rams have a very good defense. They have great young defensive linemen. They do a great job of drafting young players in their front. And simply being able to have the defense that they have, considering the amount of money that they spend on offense, is truly remarkable. I feel like they have a great veteran presence of guys that have been in the league a long time, being able to come together and have that continuity on the back end in that defense. But that defensive line is something serious. And I feel like if that defensive line can attack Sam Darnold and get him affected early in the game, I don't feel like it's going to be as close as people think. Matthew Stafford is firing on all cylinders. Puka Nacua is having a great game. The Rams are also able to run the ball very efficiently. So it's really the challenge is going to be to Seattle's defense, if anything. I see the Rams winning this one.
All right, Nick's taking the Rams. I'm going to take Seattle in it. You said it earlier. Defense wins championships, and I just the way Seattle played and shut down everything from San Francisco. Obviously, San Francisco was hurt and had a lot of guys out of the lineup, but I just think Seattle's defense is going to win this one. Hey, does Sam Darnold get enough respect around football?
I don't think he does, man. I really don't think he does. But he's one of the quarterbacks that's been in a lot of systems, has found his way to maintain his place in the league, has played well the past couple of years to really cement himself as a starter. And I feel like this game is going to be the game if Seattle wins, where he really pushes himself ahead to say, I belong in this league. I belong as a starting quarterback in this league. So it's definitely be a great task for him come Sunday. And I'm looking forward to it, man. It's going to be a great game.
2 years in a row, he's a 14 game winner with two different teams. I don't think that's ever happened before. So he's certainly coming into his own. There's no doubt about that. I think this one will be close if history tells us anything. Their two games this year were decided by a total of 3 points. They each won one. So this one, I think this is probably the best of the two games that we're going to see on Sunday.
I agree with you. I agree with you. Like I said, the first game is going to be a defensive battle. I don't think a lot of points will be scored, but I definitely feel like that last game is going to really come down to who finishes the game with the football. I feel like it's going to be a closer game, and whatever team, finishes last and is able to capitalize with time of possession will probably come out victorious in that second game.
How important is home field in the playoffs, and especially home field in Seattle because it's different there?
It's definitely different. I don't feel like it'll affect the Rams simply because it's not like they're having to travel time zones, which plays a major part in that. And then they don't have to travel that far, considering they're going from LA to Seattle. It's also a divisional opponent, and guys have played in that atmosphere before this year. And so I definitely don't think it would have a huge effect on them. But playoff game, championship game, you got to be ready to go. I feel like that's one of the unsung things. Maybe home field advantage in the sense of a college football game, but as professional athletes, you got to be able to punch your ticket. Not many guys get an opportunity to go out there and play for the opportunity to go to a Super Bowl. So I feel like when that comes into play, home field advantage is definitely a factor, but I don't think it's a big one.
You've been in games in noisy stadiums, obviously in your college career days, but in the CFL, you played games in Saskatchewan, you played games in Winnipeg, you've heard the crowd noise. I'm always a believer. I know the crowd is against you, but they're just loud. Doesn't just a loud crowd, no matter what team you're on, just get you jacked up a little bit?
It definitely fires you up, man. I really love going to Sask and being able to have that true home field enemy territory atmosphere when it comes to the fans and the way they pack the stadium. I feel like the atmosphere in Sask is the standard in the CFL and what we're trying to build when it comes to Edmonton home games. But just going into that stadium and seeing the sea of green is definitely one of those atmospheres that you live for. Like, okay, we're playing football today. And so I feel like it's one of the things that, especially as a defensive player, it just gets you, fired up, man. Especially when you're on defense at an away stadium, they kind of quiet down for the home offense. So it doesn't really affect the defensive players when it comes to traveling, but quarterback play and offensively, I can see how that could be a little bit demoralizing considering you can't get the snap count and things like that. But as a defensive player, it definitely jacks you up and has you ready to play whenever you get in the atmosphere like that.
Yeah, I saw it in Seattle last week. When you see the guard tapping the center on the knee, say it's time to throw the ball, buddy, and let's get going. You know it's pretty loud at that point. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that game. It should be a good one. Now we had four really good pro games. Well, really good because they're playoff games. Two of them were excellent games to watch and real exciting. There was this must be for a guy like you who lives and breathes football. This must have been just an outstanding weekend this past weekend because you have the two games on Saturday, the two games on Sunday in the NFL. Then the national championship game in college football went on Monday night. Indiana with a win over Miami. I know you're excited about that game. Tell me a little bit about what you saw in that game and how you enjoyed it.
It was just overall amazing to see. And I tell everybody that's from the States, well, everybody that's in Canada that doesn't know what it's like being from the States, rather, that college football is completely a lifestyle in the United States. I mean, it's something that everybody can relate to. Of course, you have your different people that have your NFL teams, but you're going to root for the school that you got your education at when it comes to college football in the United States. And I just feel like to see a team like Indiana, which is a team that really grinded it out, made the college football playoff last year, lost in a close game to Notre Dame, was really counted out this year as, okay, they're one-hit wonders. They can't do it again. Then to have a quarterback that was a two-star recruit, didn't really have much offers, and also a head coach who is a first-time P4 head coach come in and really call his mark, call his shot, and have a team that doesn't really have a lot of guys that are boastful or flashy, but has a lot of blue collar, hardworking guys that know what it's like to have their chip on their shoulder, be under recruited, and really just play complimentary football the entire season to have a perfect season, a 16-0 season as collegiate athletes in the world of NIL with so many distractions. I feel like that was America's team last night. Everybody in the country was rooting for them. Now, granted, Miami had a great story of barely getting into the playoffs and fighting and clawing to get the opportunity to go back home and play in the national championship game. And they talked about the history of the U and the history of that program and what it meant to the head coach and so many other players that have been a part of that organization. But to just see Indiana quarterback Mendoza just put the team on his back on that 4th and 5 to see the confidence of the head coach and saying, okay, if we're able to go up by 2 touchdowns here, we clinch the game. And to see the defense be able to not blink in the following drive and get the seal. Man, it was an amazing game. It definitely will go down as one of the top college football national championships that I've ever watched personally. And it was just great to see, man, the story, just this, especially with the reality of college football and it being so business oriented now to where a lot of players don't really play with that same passion and love for the game and love for the opportunity that was given to them to play the game, rather, being focused on the monetary value that the game brings them. To see a player like Mendoza and other players on the Indiana team just be able to come together to win a national championship, which is something 130 teams set out to do, it was truly phenomenal, man. And I'm grateful to watch it, man. It was one of the best games I have probably seen in the past couple of years.
Yeah, I love the passion. That's for sure. Yeah, I can tell you really loved it. Mendoza, I mean, think about his year now. He goes 16-0. He wins the Heisman. He wins the national championship, and then he's going to get drafted first overall by Vegas and end up kind of being tutored by Tom Brady. It's been a pretty good year for him, hasn't it?
A phenomenal year, and to just see his mannerisms, to see the way that he isn't afraid to talk about his faith, to talk about his humility, to talk about, his mom, and her diagnosis with things, and just seeing how family oriented he is, and just overall how good of a kid and good of a person he is truly a blessing. And I'm super happy for that kid.
All right, great story indeed. All right, Nick, we're going to give you next week off because there's a 2 week break between the conference championships and the Super Bowl. So we'll have you back in a couple of weeks, and we'll talk about the big one, the Super Bowl matchup, and we'll make our predictions for that. By the way, the standings, if you're wondering, you went 2 for 2 this weekend. You picked we both picked Houston and lose out there. You also picked Buffalo. You're 6-4 over the 2 weeks. I'm 8-2, but you can still catch me. So anyway, Nick, thanks for this. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you in a couple of weeks' time.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Looking forward to it.